exciting. I've been waiting for this. I don't know, that just seems impossible. I don't think I can do that. Those also move through the heart. Judging, liking and not liking. Mixed with the sensations of our body on the chair. Maybe feelings after lunch of being strengthened, or sometimes after lunch I know myself I can get a bit tired. So the actuality that sometimes we lose touch with by being enchanted by the nouns in our language that make things good and bad and the best and the worst and a friend and an enemy and interesting or bored. Those being enchanted or mesmerized or hypnotized by our descriptions of reality, we lose touch with the actuality of these sights and sounds and sensations and thoughts are all like cascading streams, flowing. And that actually all this right now, mixing together, that the actuality of this experience of love and actions is flickering, shifting, changing. Yet, when I was there working so hard, and the work wasn't bad, I had all those years of 500 push-ups a day and climbing ropes and walking on my hands for 100 yards and studying, and I don't regret it. There was wonderful spiritual qualities of persistence, equanimity with pain, and learning to stretch what we think is possible, all good things. But the imagination that somehow I'm going to arrive at success, it's just not rooted in truth. Like right now, okay, we've arrived here, but where is the certainty? Where is the certainty? Listen to the actuality. The sounds keep dissolving. Our thoughts, oh, I've got it now. Andrew said it. Why didn't I write it down? Somebody recorded. I hope the recording wasn't broken. I think we've got it. Even when the scrapbooks open up, oh, Rhodes Scholar, national champion, closes. That's an important truth. Important truth, this truth of the ever-changing nature of sound, sight, smell, taste, sensation through the body, thoughts in the mind, the whole way in which we experience our reality. When we really take that in our contemplative life, meaning in our honoring this moment enough, not just to believe what somebody else said, to use this God-given, mysterious circumstance that we have this instrument of consciousness. We're aware. We can be quiet. It's at the heart of the Buddhist teaching. When we start to inquire the nature of things, and we see what comes, goes, and that starts to have profound implications. If we realize everything that we think we can grab hold of and keep, it's just we call it my body, my health, my success, that's a way of talking. Right? It's not really true. And that when there's that recognition of realizing that the next thing is not what's really going to fill us up, that continually trying to squeeze our experience and make it give us certainty and happiness, make our beloved one make me happy because you're fulfilling me, we end up choking ourselves and each other. My dear Thai master would say it's like going up to a duck and arguing with it, asking it why it's not a chicken. I know the quack, quack, quack thing, and you grew up with that. Yeah. You can wake people up, cockle-doodle-doo. Try it. Don't be bashful. But when we want the full moon not to become the new moon. The in-breath, just to have the inspiration. That breath is, it's a bit boring, it's deflating, it's stale air, it's better to get that breath. I think we should just breathe in. We do that in trying to, and wouldn't it be nice if people were just nice, just complimenting each other. Even when you're giving a compliment, and it's that beautiful feeling. Can it go on forever? But looking for certainty in that which is uncertain, we're bound to suffer, said my teacher, said the Buddha. Because if we want conditions to just stop and we arrive somewhere, creates suffering. So then this return, the great return back to the place where we all merge, back to the home territory of the heart. That doorway is opened by moments of honesty and inquiry. And this is just not peculiar to the Buddha. We hear this message from the Christ when he said, seek and ye shall find. And he really exhorted us to look. And look again. And this fundamentally significant principle. It seems so obvious. Everything, yeah, the day begins, the day ends. Okay. 2015 is not eternal, of course. Everybody knows that. Is my bank account eternal? Well, I wish it was, but it's obvious. We all would get 100 out of 100 on that multiple choice. But if we really start to, even for a moment, the Buddha said, finger snap of experiencing change. Just even the sounds coming and going. The heartbeat. And feeling that pulsing. A moment, the Buddha said, has immense power to little by little break apart the delusion that fuels the engine of perpetual conflict and suffering. When we really start to see that what's changing, we can't make the duck into a chicken. We can't make a circumstance be eternal. Its nature is perfectly its nature to appear and dissolve back into, and that's what happens when we start to look. Each sound dissolves into this living silence, living presence. When we're not so busy grasping and rejecting, we start to notice what remains. What was the Christ pointing to when he said, don't store up your treasures on earth, where moth and rust have corrupted, thieves breaking and steal. Rather store your treasure in heaven, where moth and rust have corrupted, thieves don't break and steal. In his language of the time, that's pointing to what we in our language, our habits, what maybe we have acculturated to me, my stuff. And yes, it's fine, important to tend to and look after our stuff, but if we really believe it, that's our treasure. The most beautiful fabrics wear out, moth and rust. Rust, things decay. It's pointing to impermanence. And yet if our treasure is in health, then when we get sick, it's a catastrophe. And yet it is the nature, the perfect nature of a body to be born, to age, to sicken, and to die. Nobody's fault. The Buddha taught that when you let the truth of these experiences, aging, and this when I get up in the morning, sometimes you hear a different kind of chanting. Oh my God. It's real, it's challenging. And it call it a heavenly messenger. David Dupree called it, because not to hate that, but that's reminding us. There's a remembering that's possible, that this is what forms do. Sights and sounds and forms and everything in the world of creation, manifestation comes, decays, and disappears. When we open to that, allow ourselves to experience it, deepen our capacity to be patient and compassionate, and it leads us back to this realm. And not only the realm of forms, but also, and this is particularly very important for us, is the realm of our thoughts. To see their changing nature too, because when we don't see the changing nature of thoughts, they become the truth, and my way is right and your way is wrong. We can do terrible things to ourselves and each other. When we get so impassioned by our opinions and our views, and don't also realize that even the most gorgeous view, its nature as a view, noticing the nature of thought, it bubbles and dissolves back into this living silence. And it's through thought, this is really key, and it's at the core of this love in action. It's through our relationship to thought that this first tragic, and yet important, I guess, mark, wall, apartheid of the heart comes into being, the thought me. We take what is a seamless totality, and just that little thought, me, I, Chrissy, you, here or there, yesterday, tomorrow, and we have to bring time in. So thought objectifies and owns, and it's a wonderful tool to be able to express and to investigate, but when we don't really investigate, we think thoughts are facts. The world really becomes split up. I to me, and then to I, you, yesterday, tomorrow. The right ones, the wrong ones. The chosen ones, the damned ones. Then we can, the earth can be just a place for us to buy stuff, and the animals, they don't really matter. Those over there, where they're lost anyway, they're hopeless. All created through thought. And we lose touch with this original brightness. Even in science, it's interesting. Once Einstein someone had tragically lost a loved one, and they wanted Einstein to encourage them. This is what Einstein wrote in a letter back in 1950. He said, "A human being is a part of the whole, called by us the universe. A part, limited in time and space. But the human being, he or she experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness." He or she experiences himself, herself, our thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. The striving to free oneself from this delusion is the one issue of true religion, said Einstein. Not to nourish it, but to try to overcome it, is the way to reach the attainable measure of peace of mind. The striving to free oneself from this delusion is the one issue of true religion. not to nourish it, but to try to overcome it, is the way to reach the attainable measure of peace of mind. So the saints and sages, the Christ, the Buddha, all the great seers have said, in actuality, we're not separate. We are rooted and grounded. We are children of the divine, children of God. But we don't know it. Or maybe we do, but we forget it. It's important that we've at least been reminded that that's possible. But then rather than just trying to convince ourselves and believe it, the great seers gave us practices to help us remember, reconnect. And this is where they take the beam out of your eye before you go and try to operate on everyone else in the world. What's the beam? If you had a beam in your eye, that would hurt. When Christ says, pick up the cross, it's the same thing. Don't hate the suffering. Open to it. Be honest enough by noticing what's in our vision. Is it resentment? Is it confusion? I wish I could meet someone who would know what the next teaching for me to do is. Wish the Christ was here for me. It's all right, you meeting the great master. If it's doubt, or just the sense, all these positions Andrew laid out that we can relate to, the sense of, well, it doesn't matter, or it's too late, to honestly notice what's in our vision. Not to, and to deepen our capacity not to judge and hate suffering, but to be willing, open to it. The Buddha called it a noble truth. He says, yes, if you want, and we're good at it, especially in this culture. If something happens and we hurt, heads are gonna roll. Find somebody to blame the government, we can even blame God. We can sometimes blame ourselves so much we feel like we have to take our life. But the Buddha said, no, you don't have to be ashamed of it. That a moment of even acknowledging I'm hurting, or there is hurting, maybe not for myself, or what do we do about this catastrophe, suffering all around us? Even a moment of just open to that, feeling that, ennobles us. Pick up the cross. Open to the suffering. So that then there's a possibility of being able to notice how through our grasping at it, rejection of it, we get mesmerized and enchanted.